And now, Ujjayatman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda commences tonight's satsang with a Sanskrit peace chant.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We begin with mystic song by Sri Swami Lalitananda, played and sung by Sri Swami Umananda and Rajneesh.
Our song tonight is called O Goddess Lakshmi, Abide in My House. like a silver star, you shine. Secretly, you watch from above. Give me a drop of heaven. Let the pearls of wisdom fall. Oh, divine Mother, here I am, cold and hungry in raging sea. In a world of time and space, give me the cup of immortality. Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. I implore you, O Goddess Lakshmi, abide in my house forevermore. We are recording from the ashram of our revered Guru, Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda in Miami, Florida. Today is April the 20th, 2021, Tuesday evening, and tonight Swamiji will be lecturing on the Yoga Vasistha. This is series 2018, class number 332. And now, Atman Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Brahmanandam Param Sukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Nirvana Prakarana Purvardha, Section 77. This mystic story of Queen Chudala and King Shikhidwaja begins. Previously, we were talking about the descent of the Ganges. And that I've explained is bringing Jnana Ganga, the intuitive wisdom to shower upon you from head to the toes. Again, I'm using allegorical word. It is Jnana Ganga, movement towards jnana, wisdom, that purifies the three lokas, the world of your practical reality, the world of your sentimental reality, and the world of your understanding. All the three go on getting highly purified. And through all the three, whose glory expresses of the absolute self. And ultimately, truth alone shines. That's the ultimate truth. Brahman alone exists. Now coming to this present section, the names Chudala and Shikhidhwaja. Chuda term is jewel that people wear as bangles. Women wear special bangles that are known as chudas. And chuda money is the best of those bangles. Bangles that don't wrangle. And that's pointing to Queen Chudala, who becomes the embodiment of intuitive wisdom. Shikhidhwaja, the husband, the king. Dhwaja is banner. Shikhidhwaja, he is the highest banner, the crest jewel of all the banners. Holding a head that paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge, first step to have intellectual grasp, not superficially, but profoundly. Even that level is the early step. It is absolutely required. And then you go into the higher level. These are two high steps, Shikhidhwaja and Chudala. But through this story, the same Vedantic teaching is brought to you in a colorful way. Yoga Vasistha said, O Rama, King Shikhidhwaja was able to hold his mind in the nest of his heart. These are all highly poetic writings. A bird likes to get into the nest. Your mind should be like a bird, focused on the heart. So too, you must abide in the self by controlling the mind. Sri Rama wanted to know about King Shikhidhwaja. Therefore, Sri Vasistha commenced the following story. Vasistha continued, once in Dwapar Yuga, there lived a great king whose name was Shikhidhwaja. While he was still a child, he lost his father. Therefore, he became the ruler of his land at a very young age. Assisted by his ministers, he ruled his kingdom with great nobility. He was endowed with all excellent qualities that adorn a great king. He performed sacrifices regularly. He manifested patience, generosity, endurance, control of senses, and heroism. Heroism on the path of aspirant means strength to accomplish a spiritual goal. Dheer Veer, be a hero. So that type of strength. He did not possess any degrading vices or defects, such as indulging in self-praise, hypocrisy, sense enjoyment. Simple point is being given that even in the first step of indirect understanding, how disciplined you are or integrated you are, accordingly there will be success. If you are not integrated, then your success waits. But again, the word integration doesn't mean that you accomplish it in a day or two. It's a progressive movement. The more you are integrating, the more you are practicing yoga, greater is the capacity of your intellect to have a clearer understanding. Otherwise, you are always confused. Is it my intellect saying or is it my ego saying? Sometimes, if your intellect is sharp, it gives a blow to the ego, one big fist. But where buddhi is sharp, rather, where ego is sharp, it gives a blow to the intellect. The other way around, the intellect blows it, gives a big fist to the ego. Ego and intellect, they have heads together, and they bang their heads every now and then. I don't know, and you never know which bang is praiseworthy. He established order and harmony in his kingdom by the force of his valor and wisdom. During his rule, people attained great prosperity and glory. All this at a young age. He is not yet youthful. He is more like a teenager. And all great qualities have been acquired by him. And he does lots of virtuous deeds. All that implies that in order to have enlightenment, you need to develop those virtues. And also to understand people who find it easy to have spiritual progress. It has not been easy all due to this particular life. You have been led to spiritual practice through many embodiments. So led by sadhana through many embodiments, you begin to succeed. And the success comes when your intellect becomes deeply interested in who am I? What's the nature of this world? What's the goal? And what's the truth behind the world? As time passed, the ministers noted the dawn of youthfulness in the king. He began to youthen. They found an equally accomplished princess to be his bride. This princess was Chudala. She was endowed with beauty and charm. But greater than all this external look, she was endowed with profound spiritual sensitivity and lived a life enriched with wonderful qualities. Shikhidhwaja found in her an ideal companion, friend and wife. Through this story, Sage Vasistha is also giving illustration of an ideal householder. You do not have to literally be a sannyasi. Sannyasi is an internal movement. So, they are grihasthas who became even greater than ordinary some sannyasis. And in scriptures, King Janaka is the illustration of Videha Mukti. Even though he is a king, married, and in spite of his household duties, he goes on performing. He is ever rooted in the realization, I am not the body. So Janaka is called Videha, bodiless. Similarly, Shikhidhwaja is moving towards that state, as well as Queen Chudala. Now, how did they spend their life? This again is an ideal. How should newly wedded persons, bride and bridegroom, newly wedded individuals, how should they live a successful married life? And the answer lies in being three things: ideal companion, ideal friend, ideal wife. Well, marry one, but threefold benefit. They spent their youthful days in diverse forms of enjoyments. They learned different forms of knowledge from each other. Each one must help the other. The relationship is supplement, complement. And both are benefited from each other. And how do these two are benefited? That's what you are listening to. They learn different forms of knowledge, knowledge from each other. But Shikhetwaja learned about dance, music, and other fine arts from Chudala. See, he knew all these scriptures and all types of scholarly insight. But he lacked artistic talents. That means there was a disintegration in his personality. But as a result of his marriage, he learned all these through his wife. And Chudala in turn learned from him the knowledge of various scriptures. They lived a life of elevating companionship. Together, they devoted their lives to the service of sages and saints, while they are complementing, supplementing each other, enriching each other. Their source of inspiration is good association. So they are always seeking satsanga, company of sages and saints, by serving them. They were like a pair of swans in the lake of purity. This is the ideal household life. Be a pair of swans. Don't stay confined to the lake. Swan separates water and milk blended together. That's again his storyline, allegorical. Similarly, allow the understanding to separate self from the not self. And if you are doing that, and if both are involved in that, then husband and wife both become swans. Section 78. Queen Chudala attains wisdom. Now what happens? Both are doing sadhana. Both are advancing. But Chudala had her heart set in a profound way. And therefore, Chudala attains enlightenment. Even without getting intellectual perfection. Liberation is not dependent upon intellectual perfection. It doesn't depend upon your passing an examination, getting PhD. All that gives the brightness of your skill to the masses. But liberation doesn't require this show. You may appear childlike without going through lots of logic and lots of palabras. As time passed, the royal couple became aware of the transitoriness of the world. They saw how youth leaks away from human personality like water from a broken jar. Now your attention is directed towards vairagya, dispassion. If deep down you are becoming prepared for attaining enlightenment, then these will be the characteristics, vairagya, viveka, and so forth. And these will be the means to your spiritual progress. Now, therefore, for promoting vairagya, have your mind the ability to clearly observe how things are. You continue to live your life, but there is no vertical view. You do not go above your circumstances and sit back and look at how things are and what is the cause of those things. In other words, people live through their life. Childhood passes away, youthful state comes, youthful state passes away, aging process starts, and all this leading to diseases and deaths. Should one continue to live only for all this? If not, then how to? How to handle your body-mind set? How best to live your life? The answer to that how is practice of yoga, integral yoga. And more summarized answer, bhakti and jnana. They reflected thus as fickle as the waters in the stream, rather in the ocean. The world that you live in, every situation is as fickle as waves in the ocean. As certain as the falling of a ripe fruit from a tree, no matter how settled you feel, but every attainment will one day fall like the ripe fruit. So is the life that sustains human bodies. Just as frost causes lotus blooms to fall, so human life human life succumbs to frosty old age. And like streams that swell due to abundant rains, cravings continue to grow disproportionately. In other words, the more you try to fulfill your craving, the more your craving becomes strengthened. The more you age, the craving becomes youthened. That's the predicament of your life. Live your life with the art of fulfilling the craving, not just aging, but saging. like arrows discharging from a bow. Pleasures continue to move further and further away from the mind that is seeking them. Think of pleasures like deer, and you are the hunter. And the more you go after them, the more they run fast. And most people remain a failure. Whatever pleasure you do catch is transient and illusory. So where is happiness? From the very childhood you are looking for happiness, running after it. You ran after your toys, etc. But the stage goes away. Then you go after happiness in a different level, in your school, with your companions, and in a different set of things. Even all that goes away, and you go on looking for happiness. And happiness is always at a distance, far away. It is an illusion. Just as vultures hover over nest, so various afflictions abounding with grief and craving continue to hover over an aging person. As you age, and if you are deprived of satsanga, and your mind is not involved in bhakti, devotion to God, then you are living an absolutely empty life, a life of failure. A life that abounds with kleshas, afflictions, just to name the afflictions: ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, fear of death. These are the dominating feature of your mind. Klishtvrittis and countless thought waves arising out of these kleshas, they dominate your mind. Having reflected upon the transience of all worldly pleasures, the royal couple decided to take recourse to spiritual knowledge for attaining freedom from the disease of the world process. They came to the conclusion and ascertained in their minds that the wisdom of the self is the goal for which they must strive. Their minds became absorbed in the quest for wisdom. They took refuge in the guidance of knowers of truth. They helped each other in their study and understanding of the scriptures. Now that's how the good friends should do. And if you have a broad heart, then you understand all are your friends, potentially. Sarvabhuti hite rataha. Your doing good is not limited to your own self, but doing good to all. And that becomes possible if you are moving towards enlightenment. So in brief, in every relationship, there should be an inherent interest in helping people whom you love. And helping is through jnana yajna. If you bring strength and courage, Godward devotion in the heart of your relatives, you are doing something profound. If you are simply helping them, in order they must come to you for help, then it is you are serving your ego. But you must blend both. You have no choice but to work with your ego. But as you advance, there are degrees of lessening of ego's importance. And there is increasing joy in rendering divine service, in promoting jnana yajna, and seeing how joyous people become when they discover their understanding. Enable people to become independent, not dependent upon you. Independent, focused on the goal of life. And the goal is there in every individual. Having listened to the method of crossing the ocean of the world process, Queen Chudala withdrew her senses from the world and practiced intense meditation on the truth. Chudala was more sensitive because her feeling aspect was involved in attaining enlightenment. Shikhidwaja did attain great intellectual knowledge, which is also his achievement. But because his intellect has been rendered sattvic due to a lot of good karmas. But now you can see how they behave with each other. One has become enlightened, another is still backward. How Chudala has to aid Shikhidwaja's spiritual movement. She inquired into the mysteries of life in this manner. This is the example of inquiry. Who am I? Who is involved in this illusory world process? In a calm, relaxed mind, free of worldly stress and botheration. Now you practice your affirmation, positive affirmation. And in that atmosphere of positivity, inquiry progresses. a keen interest in understanding. Who am I? You are looking for yourself, but not with intellectual stress. One who is caught in the illusion of the world process must work out his liberation from it. What is the cause of a delusion? When the root cause of human misery is known, it can be eradicated. The root cause of human misery is ignorance, avidya. This body is inert and dull. It cannot be the conscious self. Body doesn't know anything. Your body knows because of your identity with the body. You are the one developing that illusion. Your nails don't know they are nails. Fingers don't know they are fingers. Your body doesn't know what it is. It is due to the functions of the mind that one develops the idea of the body. The awareness of the body is sustained by the mind. It doesn't exist on the basis or in the body. I am the body is not in your body. It's in your mind. The various limbs of the body are just like the rest of the body, inert and devoid of consciousness. Even the senses are not the self. Like pebbles or stones on a sandy shore. They are different from the conscious principles that directs them. The entire body is being led by prana. Prana is being led by mind. Mind is being led by intellect. Intellect, ego. And behind that, there is a causal state. The causal unconscious is leading every part of your body. Just as a river flows through a mountain course, so this buddhi, intellect, flows through the groove of the ego. Intellect and ego, they work together. And requires very subtle understanding to separate ego from your intellect. Buddhi is not the self, but can this ego be the self? This is all inquiry you are looking for. Who am I? You didn't find it in your body. You didn't find in your senses, in your pranas, in your mind, intellect, ego. Not even in your unconscious. The ego is essenceless and dead. It exists like a ghost imagined in a frightened child, dominated by ego. You are just like a frightened child. Ego is constantly raising problems, and you are constantly being shaken by them. It should be other way around. The soul that is associated with vital forces, pranas, abides in the heart. And too brittle to be the immutable self. The soul in you is jiva. Jiva is a reflected self, just like the reflected sun in a jar of water. No matter how great the sun may be, but the reflected sun is constantly shaking, extremely brittle. Your soul is extremely brittle. Led by karma, the soul departs for smallest reason. But that soul is not you are. You are the sun, not the reflected self. The subtle distinction is a great task for spiritual aspirants. Daily you are led to your essential self in an indirect way when you go to sleep. You move away from all that is not self, apparently. You have no awareness of body, mind, intellect, ego. And you are not lost. You are at your best. When you wake up, the world starts again. So even while you are awake, understand that sleep-like state is the dominating reality. Sleep-like state points to the presence of the self. The sun is like sleep-like reality. And a reflected sun is a dream-like reality. Reflected sun has lots of stories to tell. The sun has nothing to tell. And whom to tell? And with this I will conclude for today. Om. Om. Ram, 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 Ram. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras, grace of God over all of you, with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम तत्सत्.
Are there any questions? No. Shri Ram.
Pranam Gurudev. Gurudev, you described that Chudala was able to achieve the goal because of she had a feeling aspect or sensitivity, and she did the self-inquiry without intellectual stress. Can you help elaborate, please?
You have to understand, how do you see things if you are an artist? The whole picture you can present, but ask an intellectual mathematician, put the picture the way you want it. For the mathematician, he knows much more than you from an artist's point of view. But he can't even make a person smile. So figure that out. The mathematician will explain what a smile means. Whole volume. The artist can paint the smile quickly. What makes him so easy, so spontaneous? Okay.
Thank you, Swami.
So remember that you have to wait till next week to continue the story of Chudala and Shukidruja. Because no, tomorrow night, Wednesday night, you'll be enjoying at 7:30 Swamiji's Ram Nomi and Hanuman Jayanti lecture. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And now we conclude.
Om Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.